Holy shit. It's fucking time, kids. Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Hey!
Oh.
Welcome back, kids. We got so much to talk about, from the culture that pops, from Moon Knight to Doctor Strange and every Marvel fucking thing in between.
A little bit of DC.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about fallen legends and heroes, and we'll talk about all the news. Then do a little Q&A and get the hell out of here. There it is. I've shown you the future. Call me Doctor Strange, man. I didn't even need an eye of Agamotto to fucking show you what the future is going to be.
Peered into the multiverse and spied our tomorrows.
I don't need a third eye, unless you count the one down there. Welcome back, kids, and so good to see you. Mark, how have you been?
I've been well, man. I've been well. I've been preparing for, and by preparing, it's not like I'm going on some transcontinental adventure, but I'm going back up to the Great White North, to British Columbia, to the good folks of Prince George for the Northern Fan Con.
Oh, wow, man.
Which is this weekend.
That is an expedition.
It is. I got my dogs all ready. I got my sled packed.
How many days are you there? You there Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I fly out tomorrow, then I'm back on Monday.
And that takes place in Prince George?
Indeed. Bucolic Prince George.
If anybody's near Canada, go see Mark this weekend, man.
Yeah, drive from Toronto. It's only a 900-hour drive, I have to imagine.
I am headed out to St. Louis for Fan Expo St. Louis. I'll be there this Saturday. Pictures with Jay and signing stuff, and then we do Jay and Silent Bob Get Old at night. So I'll see any of you St. Louisians. Oh, I guess that's not right. You
Yeah, I bet you it is, though.
Missourians, you miserable Missourians. What do they call themselves? What is a gaggle of Missourians?
I don't know. St. Louveneers.
I'll hopefully see some of you this weekend. Last weekend, the weekend we just came off of, I was back east in New Jersey for Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash Silver Anniversary Bash. Celebrating all year long. We're celebrating 25 years of the store. And so we had the entire Clerks cast come and take pictures and sign stuff. And then at night we did a 3-way Q&A at the Atlantic Movie House, which was just bliss, man. And this is like, we had a record weekend. We had like $100,000 weekend, which was huge for us at the Stash. So it was absolutely lovely. So a lot of folks said beautiful things about this very show. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah. You know where I went last week?
Where?
I went to the elusive, the secretive,
I saw this in your Twitter. Go ahead.
Indeed. I went to the previously by myself, never before visited, but often heard about, rumored, the legend that is Club 33 in Disneyland.
I've never been. What is it like?
It is what I have to imagine the fanciest, coziest, happiest version of a golf club without a golf course you've ever been to. It is
a lot of pastels, a lot of Judge Smales and shit. Didn't want to do it, felt I owed it to him.
Yeah, it was apparently designed by Walt Disney, but he never got to visit it because he passed away before they finished construction. But it is the address is exactly what it says. It is. It's on 33 World Street in New Orleans Square. And, you know, you've got to like knock on the door and give the secret passcode, and they let you up into this kind of gorgeous, like Art Deco meets, you know, this kind of Walt Disney, Missouri reverie that is Disneyland. And they've got this amazing bar. And if you're a drinker, they make phenomenal drinks, and it's gorgeous stained glass everywhere, and a player piano doing its thing, and comfy couches. And then they've got a fine dining sort of room with white glove service and fancy foods, and it's kind of lovely. It is, as I imagine it was designed to be, an amazing oasis in the middle of Disneyland, where you would have no idea that Disneyland exists outside those walls.
That is some bougie ass shit, man. How'd you line that up?
A friend happens to be one of those guys who got on the wait list 20 years ago, and 10 years ago his name was called, and so now he's a member in good standing, and membership has its privileges.
Apparently, man.
It does indeed.
Did they have like human buffets and fucking fights to the death and shit like that? What happens in Club 33 stays in Club 33?
Yeah, something tells me they phased out the Mandingo fights back in the day. In the 70s, I imagine it was gauche.
I would imagine there's a screen that drops at a certain point, and the disembodied head of Walt, cryogenically frozen, addresses everybody.
It's, enjoy your stay here in Club 33.
Smiles, everyone. Smiles.
Places. Pictures.
I was not there. Ooh, it's Banff Man, everybody. Give it up for Banff Man. What's up, Banff Man?
I'll also point out, because I'll take a little credit for this, that prior to the opening of Galaxy's Edge, it was the only place in Disneyland that sold alcohol.
Very true.
Now Oga sells alcohol. I wonder why.
Competition, methinks.
Yeah. It's because of you, JC. Because of you.
Yeah, the rumor has it that Club 33 was partially designed in a way to sort of woo and comfort investors and bigwigs who would come to the park and didn't necessarily want to walk amongst the rabble. But these same guys who were highfalutin high rollers were like, come on, Walt, I got to have a drink. I can't not have a highball at 4:00. Like, what do you think? I'm some kind of Philistine? And so then the design for that being the only place you could get a drink was put into motion.
I've not been there, but when I was working on that Kingdom Keepers program for what would become Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
They took me all over the park, and I got to see Walt's apartment. They took us up on the track of Space Mountain after it was closed with all the lights on. We walked the track, but never brought me into Club 33, man.
Someday soon.
Rarefied air, for heaven's sakes.
Someday soon your prince will come, Kevin.
I'm not taking a stand. I'm all for fucking clubs. If you like them, so be it. But call me when Disney has a Club 69, my friend. That's what I'm there to see.
I'm pretty sure.
Sexual oasis in the middle of Disneyland for investors who need a little more than liquor, Mark. They just want to watch people have sex in a real Stanley Kubrick Eyes Wide Shut kind of way. Robes, giant staffs, goofy masks that are still and plasticine.
What I did learn is that there's a hidden tributary off the river through It's a Small World that leads you into Club 69.
I love that.
A bunch of animatronic fucking.
If we're gonna make a little oasis for grown-ups, let's fucking do it. Being a grown-up, being an adult doesn't end at alcohol. It ends at fucking anonymous sex in bathrooms, from what I'm told. So that's my fucking Disneyland, Mark. Where's my Disneyland?
Bunch of guys in Minotaur helmets.
Well, that's fucking dope, man. That is, I thought maybe it was connected to the job. Aren't you working for Disney? You posted pictures from the lot as well.
I am indeed. I'm on a Disney program for which we like to pretend that this was also a research trip, even though it wasn't. It was just we want to go to Club 33. But yeah, it was fun. I yearn to go back, and yet know that I never will.
Time of your life, kid.
These are the glory days, see?
Even as a 50-year-old man, time of your life.
You gotta grow up, you gotta forget this ever happened.
We got folks that sponsor this show, ladies and gentlemen. If you're looking to patronize our show, it's free. Unless you come see it at the Scum and Villainy Cantina. We're not at the cantina today, obviously, but we will be. When is it? I think we were talking about
24th.
May 24th.
Yeah.
Get your tickets now and whatnot.
May the 24th be with you.
Yeah, fucking, we're gonna create a brand new thing. Stop trying to make May the 24th be with you. But we got ourselves. Oh, Banff Man is here. What up?
The thought behind that is that all of our out of town friends will be in for Star Wars Celebration, so that they have a chance. I've been emailed and hit up quite a bit by people asking, "Are you going to do a show that week? I'm going to be in town from Norway or parts outside of Los Angeles, so we're going to oblige."
Look at that, man. So when is Celebration? That same weekend?
It's that weekend. So we'll do a show that Tuesday, and then Celebration is that weekend.
Right. So you presume people will be in town?
Yeah, we're having some sort of a get-together on Monday for a bunch of costume people. So I'm assuming, yeah, we'll have a lot of people in town, I think.
Love it. Love it.
Costume people. Call them villains or superheroes. Don't just call them costume people.
True.
Masked Avengers of the Night. Banff, man.
You're a writer. Well, you're a writer. You just see things differently than him. Okay, so in order to keep this show, the lights on, and pay Banff Man and shit like that, we got a sponsor. And my God, this sponsor's been with us for a red hot minute. So we must be doing something right, man. And you know what? I get it because I used it and I love it. We're talking about the good folks at Chili Sleep, ladies and gentlemen. Follow along by heading over to chillisleep.com. That's CHILI sleep.com/fatman, where you're going to learn more as we talk and save 30% off the purchase of any new Cube or Uller sleep system, man. This offer is available exclusively for Fat Man Beyond listeners. That's you. You. This ain't some random bullshit. This is for you, the Fat Man listener. We did it for you. And only for time, by the way. That's Chili, CHILI, sleep.com/fatman to take advantage of our exclusive discount and wake up refreshed every day. Now you're sitting there going, what the fuck is Chili Sleep? Well, then you didn't pay attention and click on the website I just asked you to, so you could follow along. But I'll explain it to you, man. Science tells us the best way to achieve and maintain consistent deep sleep is by lowering core body temperature. I know this to be a fact because when I had a bus, people that drove the bus drivers would always say, at night they turn the AC on, everybody sleeps better because your body temperature is lower. Temperature-controlled sleep repairs muscle after a hard day's work, even if you don't work hard like me or Mark. And it improves cognitive function. The brains, up in the brains, kids. So you can always start your day feeling sharp and alert. How do you do that? With Chili Sleep, goddammit. Chili Sleep makes customizable, climate-controlled sleep solutions that help you improve your entire well-being. Take it away, Mr. Bernardin.
Chili Sleep makes the Uller and Cube sleep systems, which are both hydro-powered, temperature-controlled mattress toppers that fit over your existing mattress to provide your ideal sleep temperature. And these luxury mattress pads keep your bed at the perfect temperature for deep sleep, whether you sleep hot or you sleep cold. These sleep systems are designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and give you the confidence and energy to power through your day.
He's not kidding, kids. What are you waiting for, man? Sleep as you get older gets more difficult. Let me tell you, I wish I had my Uller system when I was back east this weekend. First 2 nights I was there, I couldn't get a good night's sleep, man. But if I had my Chili Sleep, I would have been like, I sleep like a little owl. Like a goddamn little owl, and it's adorable until somebody feeds me a dead rat. Kids, what are you waiting for? We've been telling you about Chili Sleep. We believe in Chili Sleep, man. It sounds more complicated than it is. Just glaze over your mattress, man. You're going to get the best night's sleep you've ever had, man. Go to chillisleep.com/fatman to learn more and save 30% off the purchase of any new Cube or Uller sleep system. The offer is available exclusively for you, the Fat Man Beyond listener, man, and only for a limited time. 30% off. It's like 20 away from 50% off, man. This shit's almost free, for heaven's sakes. That's Chili, CHILI sleep.com/fatman. take advantage of our exclusive discount. Wake up refreshed every day, man. We thank the good folks at chillisleep.com for being proud sponsors. Who knows if they're proud, but they're sponsors at least.
They're here.
A Fat Man Beyond, man.
Indeed.
God bless you, Chilly Sleep.
Cooler than the other side of the pillow. Chilly Sleep.
There it is. There's their tagline right there.
That's what we're doing.
Let's do the news.
Interesting.
Yes, let's make them wait for what we have to say about getting some strange.
You got to edge them onto the strange.
Make them stick around. Right now, whoever does the time code, they're like, damn it. But we're going to throw them for a loop. We're going to do the news first, man. Mr. Marc Bernardin, he's a guy who goes out and collects the news. Back in the day, he was a newsman. Now he ain't no newsman. That's in his rear view. But you can take the man out of the news, but you can't take the news out of the man. So he's here with news. Give it up for Mark. He's got the news. What's the news, Mark?
Hey, we got the news. I guess we'll talk about, I don't know if having seen the Moon Knight finale qualifies as news. Did you see the Moon Knight finale?
Yes, and I fucking loved it. I loved the whole Moon Knight experience. Spoilers. I love the fucking post-credits scene as well, because it tells us that it's going to keep going. And next time we might see a third outfit based on the third personality of Jake Lockley or whatever. The killer cab driver, the Robert De Niro taxi driver character. I thought it was quite beautiful. Like the second to last episode, was emotionally devastating as they traced, the origins of his divergent personality. And I thought they stuck the landing, which was nuts because it was such a short episode by comparison. And still they were able to pack it all in there and introduce a new hero as well. That was one of my favorite moments in the episode, was when, what was her name? Layla, like fucking she would become an avatar. And she fucking spread, out her fucking wings, block bullets with them. And then she pushes that fucking bus. And little girl is like, I'm going to get so choked up. Little girl is just like staring at her in awe. And then she's like, are you an Egyptian superhero? And she's like, I am. Oh, I fucking live for scenes like that, man. They got my number over at Marvel. I know everyone's like, that shit's a formula. So are Oreos. And I love those too. So that's not a criticism to me, unless you're going to say like, oh, they're like Oreos. They're the Oreos of cinema. Great. I'll be eating them my whole fucking life. They keep dishing it out like that. I was very happy. Oscar Isaac deserves 2 fucking award nominations, and he better win at least one of them. I like that they were able to shrink time and get rid of, as much as we like battle scenes and shit, because of the Jake third personality revealed at the end, we were spared, a big fight at the end, because he fucking Mark is in charge, and then all of a sudden Mark's not in charge and wakes up and sees all this fucking devastation around him. They did that a few times throughout the show, and I thought it was effective. Even though we were like running right up against the credits almost when they did it, and then they paid it off in their post-credit sequence. Seeing Khonshu sit in the back of a limo look like a fucking album cover, and then having fucking Jake turn around and be like, hasta la vista, baby, and take my man out, which was great. One thing I felt at the end, like, I know everyone's always trying to forgive people and shit, and Peter Parker spent the whole No Way Home trying to flip the villains and whatnot, but like, you don't trap a homicidal fucking judgmental god like Amit in, the likes of a fucking, what's his name? Who's the actor who played him?
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, and in the Hawk, and hope that it's going to hold and shit. So, when I saw that, I was like, oh man, that means they're gonna bring this fool back. And I loved Amit. I love seeing that gigantic fucking alligator goddess fight Khonshu. That was just metal as fuck. That looked like a 70s album cover. So I was very happy when like they tied that storyline up, spoilers, and was like, by the way, spoilers, kids. I mean, clearly lots and lots of spoilers. But yes, I absolutely fucking loved it. I loved watching the oversized version of the gods fight. I love that Marvel is now getting into the gods. I mean, they've always had Asgard and Thor and stuff, but now the pantheon of gods is building. Now we've got the Egyptian gods. What else will we have next? So I loved it. I thought it was, and for what it's worth, I always use my wife Jen as a barometer for these things, and she fucking adored it, man. She was just like, I don't know shit about Moon Knight. She's like, I thought that was fantastic. So they caught her. I don't know how it did ratings wise, but like, it's not hard to catch somebody who doesn't necessarily watch this stuff when you cast somebody like Oscar Isaac, who's eminently fucking watchable and can make anything fucking work, right? Like, even if you're in the audience, you're like, Khonshu, this is fucking dumb. Oscar Isaac will make it make sense where you're like, oh shit, he sold me. So he seemed to do that with my wife. But never mind her experience. I don't wait for her to fucking approve these shows. This shit is my fucking pablum. This is my time. Up there, Mark, that's their time. But down here with the Marvel movies and TV shows, that's our time. My time. Goonies time.
The time.
Yeah, Goonies never say die. So I absolutely loved it. And I hope they do more, or I hope they're just like, all right, now we're going to slip him into Marvel Universe flicks in the future. What were your thoughts?
It was okay, I guess.
Fucking, come on, man. That shit was deep. It was balls deep.
I loved the first episode. I think it's my favorite first episode of a Marvel show. But I don't think that I was emotionally invested in very much by the end. Like, I liked the fifth episode quite a bit because it is this little short story about, a boy and his brother, and the brother who dies, and then the surviving kid who creates a personality to help shield him from the rest of the world. Like, that was really sweet, and I really dug that. But that feels as if narratively that wants to be the burden that Mark needs to be able to absorb in order to defeat the bad guy by the very end. But defeating Arthur Harrow kind of had nothing to do really with his emotional journey. It was, I'm just going to punch this guy who's throwing lightning bolts at me a lot until we strap him to a table and reabsorb the ancient goddess who whatever. Like it for me, it didn't tie its emotional bows up in a way that made it feel as if that journey was worth taking and that journey was necessary to take. Like, I dug the look of Layla as a superhero, and I love that moment with that little girl. It's like, you're an Egyptian superhero? It's like, I fucking yeah, I am, 100%. But Layla never wanted to be a hero. In fact, she kind of actively avoided being a hero. She didn't want anything to do with avatars or gods or none of it. So the fact that she becomes that had less to do with what she wants or didn't want and more to do with what the story needed her to have. And I don't know, it just felt hollow by the time we got to the end, where, and we'll talk about this, I think, more when we get to Doctor Strange, the idea of a bad guy who has a giant grand plan or immense supernatural power that results in just flinging energy bolts at people. Like, isn't there something more interesting than this? Isn't there something like, make fucking Moon Knight fight a giant kaiju alligator throughout the streets of Cairo? Like, I don't need Khonshu to do that. I need my hero to do that. I want my hero to do the thing that saves the day. And I don't know, it didn't, the scaffolding they built to get us there didn't feel like it was holding. Like everybody, I love Oscar Isaac, and I like watching him do that. I liked him playing the personalities. I felt like I wanted Jake to show up for real by the end of this first season and like be a complication or be a hurdle or a burden or whatever. but he just remains until a closing credits scene, a thing we talk about but never see. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Fucking, you're the kind of guy that traps Khonshu in a little fucking souvenir store statue.
You know,
Takes him out of the fucking ring. You're not alone. There's a lot of people in chat. One guy was like, shut this sycophantic fucking bullshit up and tell Mark to give us the real truth, which apparently you gave him.
well, or like, and I kept on wondering, it's like, oh, I know what Layla's going to do, even though she doesn't believe in any of this shit. She's going to topple all of these Avatar statues, and then it becomes all of the gods are loose on Earth, and we've got to navigate that instead of 3 gods. There's a wall of these fucking statues, each of which has some kind of it's like a cell block for errant Egyptian deities. So we'll open the cell block, let them all out. But no, we didn't do that. Not that it would have been better, but it just might have been different.
What is it about me, Mark? Why am I not discerning? We know I'm not paid by fucking Disney or Marvel. I haven't been paid by Disney since, the fucking 90s when Miramax was a part of Disney, technically. And unless you know something I don't, they don't pay you to fucking talk about their movies and shit because people just want to see them all the time. So why am I such a simpleton that I love this shit like with my whole heart? I'll tell you why Moon Knight. I'll tell you why I love Moon Knight. I figured it out like halfway through. Never mind whatever story's going on, and to be fair, that should matter. But you're talking to the guy who made Yoga Hosers, so I'm a lot more forgiven than most. That was a very emotional experience for me watching that show, because as I sat there like explaining fucking Moon Knight to my wife, all I heard and all it took me back to was the early 90s when Walter Flanagan like retaught me the Marvel Universe, or taught me pieces of the Marvel Universe that I never knew about. I'd loved comics as a kid and collected comics, and I was a big Marvel zombie before that was such a thing. And then when I went to high school, I dropped comics like a hot rock because I wanted to get laid. And I thought, like, back then, those two things didn't go together.
There.
And I'll never forget, like, there were 2 guys, James, I forget James' last name. God damn it. I know it sometimes, and then I smoked it away. And the other one was Eugene Simpson, who could both draw, incredible artists. And all through high school, periodically, we'd, share classes, and I would see them drawing like Marvel characters, Thor, fucking Iron Man, Human Torch, Spider-Man, every once in a while a Batman. And, I would always like fucking thrill, be like, holy shit. Like, I know exactly who that is, and start talking and blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, you read comics? And I'd be like, I don't read comics anymore, but I know all this stuff. And then it was after high school when I started working at the recreation center in Highlands when I was in high school. And that's when I started working with Walter Flanagan, who was on Comic Book Men and ran the Stash for like 2 decades and stuff. But Walter like was my bridge back into comics, because he was like a tough kid that liked comics. He was a guy that didn't sell out on books. He was never like bothered that people poo-pooed comic books as like, oh, that's for children, even though we were technically grown-ups, like young adults. His whole thing was like, why am I stupid that I read The Watchmen? I think they're fucking stupid that they haven't read The Watchmen. It's a brilliant comic book. So like, here's a dude who taught me to like, embrace fucking comic books. Don't worry about being judged. Fuck somebody who would judge you for reading and enjoying comics. So a lot of my re-education, like when I came back into comics after having been away for like 4 years, was all about Walter. And as I sat there like fucking talking about like Khonshu and all that shit, I just heard Walter. It just took me right back to that then, which is one of the happier times of my life. And believe me, I got a happy life across the boards. I'm not saying like, oh my God, life sucks now and it was beautiful then. But, I've spent my whole career trying to replicate a very specific 5-year period of my life. And that was definitely part of it. That 5-year period of my life would shape all the movies that I would make and all the entertainment that I would make and stuff. Like, there's probably no Fat Man Beyond unless I meet Walter Flanagan and he's like, hey man, they're fucking liking comic books. That's up to you. Fuck anybody that would judge that or something like that. Give me the confidence to like what I like, champion what I champion and stuff. So Moon Knight was emotionally tied up in that with me when I watched the show. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm watching Moon Knight. I was reliving my early 20s when like the most important thing in the world was committing to memory these Marvel mythologies as they were laid out very entertainingly and very passionately by Walt Flanagan. So I think that's why I love the show as much as I did. In fact, I know that's why I love the show as much as I did. You can add on all the reasons I brought up prior as well, but most of this shit goes deeper than just the surface, more than just like, did they do a good job telling the story this time around? A lot of the Marvel shit for me is tied up in deep emotional stuff, not just like with Walter and that period of my life, but going further back. Like Marvel Comics, I stole fucking Marvel Comics from Katz's confectionery when I was a kid, before I could afford my first and only subscription to Marvel Comics. And one of my favorite books in the world was like the Marvel Universe Handbook, which wasn't even a fucking comic book as much as a catalog or a Wikipedia, if you will, an encyclopedia of all their characters and their abilities. And so, collecting that, reading that, all that's tied in with like my father, who's like long dead. And he didn't know that shit. He was never like, well, let me tell you about fucking Iron Man. He had a drinking problem. But he fostered that kind of thing. Like he was never like, put that shit down. Like he got it. He got that I was into it. It may not have been for him, but he would tolerate when I would fucking explain a story or two to him and whatnot. So for me, I know maybe it's an unfair, I'm judging it from an unfair balance, but whatever it is, I can usually find an emotional way into it that patches up any holes. And I'm just not as fucking harsh a judge. And I'm not saying you are. Half the internet fucking felt the way that you felt about Moon Knight. And but I don't know, I think for me the emotional ties spackle over a lot of the holes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that stories are inherently emotional things. The only reason why we respond to them at all is because they move us in some fashion. Sometimes it's the story itself that prompts, the spilling of tears or the rending of fingernails or the belly laughs or whatever it is, but it's always emotional. And sometimes that emotion is nostalgic, that's hearkening back to either you at a previous age or something else that you saw at a previous age. Whatever it is, an emotion rarely makes sense, and, for me, if I'm not emotionally moved by a thing, then I start to look at it, somewhat diagrammatically. If I am emotionally moved by a thing, I will gloss over every fucking problem that it has because it did the thing that I wanted it to do, which is it made me feel as if I was a child again, or it made me feel as if I was discovering something new, and there's a joy to be found in there. It's how I felt, watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is, I love that movie. Does some of it not make sense? A ton of it doesn't make sense. But it did the thing that I was looking for, and whether I knew it or not, or it happened to harmonize with feelings that I had about, parents and children and mothers and daughters and, dealing with parents and growing old and all of that stuff, and whether or not you have value in the world, all of those things. Buried inside a multiversal story about, kung fu and butt plugs and all of that shit, and like loved it to death because that's how we operate, right? Like I remember coming out of Endgame going, I have no idea how that time travel works. And I also don't care because what it did was it got me to the place where I wanted to be, which was emotionally compromised by a movie. And so, like, yeah, it never feels to me as if it's a thing anybody needs to apologize for. If you love a thing, fucking love a thing and love it all the way soup to nuts. If you don't, that's also fine because, for whatever reason, your makeup did not bring you to that point of emotional compromise where through blurry tears, you will gladly take whatever they give you. And I think that is a place of beauty. That is a nexus of joy. If you can just find your way to be moved by a thing. And if you can't, no harm, no foul, move on. There'll be another thing, So
It's interesting to me though, like the Marvel stuff for me, like I'm a lot more forgiving with than even the Star Wars stuff, which, I tend to like very much for almost the same reasons, more of the sentimental tie-in or the nostalgic tie-in or the emotional tie-in from a very specific, a set of years from my childhood. But I could be more judgy about that shit than I can be about the Marvel shit. Like this, I've noticed, and I see people all the time cracking on like, he fucking loves everything and shit. And, I try to think about it. I know for a fact I don't love everything or I don't like everything. You just never hear about the shit that I don't like. I would never fucking waste time talking about that. But when it comes to Marvel, like I can genuinely find shit to like revel in with each and every one. The one that had the toughest, fucking getting into or letting it get into me or anything was the Eternals. I just had no tie to it whatsoever. Not from my childhood reading comics. It wasn't a book that Walter ever introduced me to or anything like that. So that had to stand on its own, like a movie. And especially because it didn't really fucking use much of the Marvel universe, in its story, it kind of stood alone. And, that one was the one that I was like, it was beautifully made and I appreciated it, but it didn't stick with me.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's, how there's a saying, you never love music the way you love it when you're in high school. And that's kind of when you discover your favorite things. Like your taste has been fluid through most of your life and then kind of gels and solidifies for you when you're like 16 or 17. And I just remember that feeling of everything I came to at that age was brand new to me. I had no emotional connection to the Terminator or Road Warrior or Aliens or Star Trek 2 or whatever. Like all of these things were brand new to me and they found a way to move me. And so when I come to a thing like, Endgame or Moon Knight or Doctor Strange or the Eternals or Justice League, whatever it is, there's stuff that I love that I knew nothing about that found a way to make me cry. And so I know some shit about you. Like you already have an advantage. And if you can't do that for me, then that's when I, not to say find you wanting, because I 100% know that hundreds of people worked for years to make a thing like that happen. And there's things to marvel at in all of these. But if you can't move me the way I was moved by shit I had no context for, then there's some work to be done. Maybe it's my work. Maybe it's their work. I don't know. But I get harder.
Some folks are asking me or suggesting that being negative is not being negative, but being critical can be helpful and shit like that. First, you have to think you could do a better job, which I never do. But side note on why I never really go negative, kids. I like the internet as much as the next guy, but I don't think you really have to do a deep dive to understand that we're not really in charge of it anymore. Algorithms push us around left and right. And, the AI discovered long ago that the way to keep people on any page is negative engagement. Like people are some ridiculous percentage higher likely to stay on a page or click on a page that has a challenging sentiment. Both people who like a thing and both people who hate a thing. Because if the theory goes, if you hate it and you see a headline that's like, I hate this fucking thing too, people are like, yeah, I want to feel validated, and they click on it, read. And if a fan sees something that says, I hate this shit, then that fan is like, well, I got to know what this asshole's problem is. So negative engagement really drives the internet and drives advertising and shit like that. And that's probably never going to change. And it's kind of horrifying to step back and think about where it eventually all leads. I know most of us are waiting for fucking Skynet to show up and take over, but not going to be necessary, man. AI is just sitting back and being like, so that won't change. And I'm not lobbying to change, but you know, any change you want to see in life begins with you. So that's why we don't do clickbaity anything. Like, you know, we put up the YouTube explanations of our videos. It's not like, did Mark hate Moon Knight? You know, no. We don't. I personally prefer not to lean into that shit. There's plenty of clickbait and hate shit all over the internet. But if you ever want to see a change, it kind of begins with you. So I just talk about the shit I like, kids. And it's not like I can't talk critically about the things I do like. I think I've done that from time to time. But you'll just never hear me fucking sitting here going on about stuff, about like the things I legitimately don't like. There's no point. There's, you know, it's a very negative sea of sentiment out there. And you're talking to a guy who's been around the internet back when you could say, I did the internet last night and you were done. Like, I've been around.
The end of it.
Yes, I've been around since there were 100 sites and that's about it. And so I've watched the evolution of this bitch from the beginning, and this is my part, my tiny part in it all, you know, because I engage with it. I need the internet. I use it for commerce, part of my business. But I can't, I just, you know, I ain't trying saying everyone's got to be me. I keep it kind of light around here.
Yeah, I get to be the one who keeps things a little bit heavy. And that's,
but we don't like, it's not even something that we lean on. Like Siskel and Ebert's whole thing was like, let's watch these two fucking middle-aged guys fight and shit. And you know, it's very rare that we're ever on the same page about something, but that's not something that we lean into or promote.
Right.
It just is what it is, man. So
and I also like I don't think I'm sure that somebody could find it, but at the very least, I try never to say the word bad.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not going to say that this is a bad movie. I have problems with it. I have thoughts about it. I have, you know, here's what didn't work for me. You know, here's a way that it might have worked for me. And that's purely for me. I'm not saying it would work for everybody, but as a person who loves this stuff, A, B, C, or D might have helped to get it to a place where in my heart of hearts, I feel like I would like it more. But that is never saying like, that was a bad movie. I try never to do that. Or the people who made this movie were stupid. Like, I think there is a very clear and necessary distinction between critical and negative. And I think we managed to walk that line relatively well, while still having differences of opinion and being able to have conversations about it. Because that was always my favorite part about being a geek, was that you could have these deep debates about the nature of the stuff that we all sort of love. And did you like that? Did you not like that? What worked? What didn't work? What would have been cool? Oh, you know, it'd be so fucking cool if this happened. That was every parking lot after every movie that I've ever seen with a bunch of friends. And that's what I think at its core is what makes a geek's heart pump, is the ability to talk to other geeks about the same stuff.
Let me tell you this much. We said we were going to open with the news and we opened with a review. So I guess we'll jump into the news now. That was our thoughts on fucking Moon Knight, kids.
Indeed. To the news specifically. One of the more long-awaited and still never entirely thought was going to happen, things happened, it was time for a new Doctor Who, Kevin. I'm not sure if you're a Doctor Who fan, if you've trucked with the Doctor.
From time to time, but not enough to, you know, I mean, I knew that, what was her name? Jodie, or who was the actress who was just Doctor Who?
Jodie Whittaker.
I knew she was made Doctor Who a few years ago. I knew her not knew her personally, but I know her from other British shows and stuff. But I didn't hear that they were getting ready to regenerate her.
Indeed.
See, I have a working familiarity with the Hooniverse, but
not deep ties to him. So yes, it is time for a new face for the Doctor, and they have chosen the first Black man to play the Doctor. His name is, and I will probably be butchering this pronunciation, but Shurigatwa is his name. He was previously on Netflix's drama Sex Education, and he's gotten a bunch of, I think he's a Scot, but he's gotten like BAFTAs and British BAFTAs and Scottish BAFTAs and all of that stuff. Like he's very well respected and regarded in the community, and he's the first Black male doctor. Now, the first Black doctor, there was a woman named Jill Martin who played the fugitive doctor opposite Jodie Whittaker, who's technically the first Black doctor. But either way, it is we're in a brave new world where aliens can have different color faces.
How'd the internet take it? Also, 100% support.
I mean, what else would you expect? I mean, it's 100% nothing but people just rallying behind the casting of a new doctor. No other news there. Moving on.
There you go. Well, that's is it like the one of the creators is coming back?
Yeah, Russell T Davies, who helped usher in Christopher Eccleston years of the Doctor, which is of the modern stuff is usually heralded as the shining moments of it. He's returning to the show to kick off
the David Tennant stuff. Was he the David Tennant guy?
It was Christopher Eccleston, then David Tennant, and then Matt Smith and Russell Davies.
Was Russell Davies had all those guys?
Yeah, that was his purview, and then left to go do a bunch of other stuff. Some of it amazing, some of it I haven't seen, but is now coming back. Apparently, you can never resist the siren call of the Doctor for too long. So,
well, good, right on. Good for the Hooniverse.
Indeed, always good to have some fresh blood, and the fact that they built in an excuse to have fresh blood whenever they want to.
I mean, that's the thing about that show. It's kind of like the presidency. If you don't care for the president, just wait a few years and
there'll be a new one.
Yeah, there'll be a new Doctor Who. But I would imagine fans will go with it. Many regenerations of the character.
Yeah, there will be something to love and probably something to dislike. And to your point, in 4 years, there will be another one.
Is that how do they roll on a regular schedule of every 4 or anything?
Not quite. I think David Tennant lasted pretty long. Eccleston was only in it for 1 year. I think some of it is the desire on the actor's part. Some of it is the desire on a network's part. I'm sure ratings and love have quite a bit to do with it. So fingers crossed, man.
David Tennant and Russell Davies are responsible for my favorite episode of Doctor Who, which is the Back to School episode where Jane Smith returns.
Oh yeah, that was cute.
Sarah Jane Smith returns and brings back K9 and stuff, and there's closure to a fucking Doctor Who that I watched WOR when I was like fucking 12 or 13 years old. That like blew my fucking mind. And it also had what's his name who plays Giles on Buffy, and he's on
yes.
now.
Anthony Head.
Oh,
Anthony Stewart Head.
He was the schoolmaster. He was so fucking good in that episode. All right, what else we got?
Batman has dethroned.
Hey, can I ask a quick question?
You can, of course.
Pop culture ignorance. Have they ever done a Doctor Who movie, theatrical?
I don't believe they have. I believe that they have screened that they've joined a couple of episodes together and then put them in theaters as like, Phantom Events presents, Day of the Daleks or whatever it is. But I don't think that like 20th Century Fox or BBC or whomever has commissioned a theatrical release, which does surprise me a little bit.
By this point, yeah. I mean, it's an insanely successful franchise that they get to change all the time. It would seem like a no-brainer to me.
Given that I've seen now the trailer for the second Downton Abbey movie, like
there's a second Downton Abbey movie?
Yeah.
Downton Abbey?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I'm watching right now? Did you watch Candy on Hulu?
No, I haven't yet. Any good?
It's fucking dope, man. 70s, like total fucking 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Looks like my fucking childhood, except it takes place in Texas. And it's like Christians trying to have an affair and somebody winds up getting killed. But what's her name? Jessica Biel wearing like a perm.
Ooh, big Cal Brady perm. Big
Perm.
Alice, bringing Alice to meet perm.
Yeah, very much so. And she is like, you know, real matter of fact, like we're gonna have an affair. Like, it's pretty fucking good. But you know who else is in it is Melanie Linsky, who is literally in everything now.
And like, she's the sweetest person. She was on Castle Rock.
Take her in
season 1.
everything. She legit is wonderful in everything she does. She got a lot of different speeds and shit. I'll take her in everything, but like I swear to you, every program I turn on, it feels like, oh, it's
her.
Yeah, she's working.
Yeah, yeah. And she's a Kiwi who does an amazing American accent.
Yeah.
You never know.
She was dope in fucking, what was it, Bumblebees? No. Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets. I mean, one of them sounds dangerous, and the other one just sounds like
Mine was the PG-13 version. I also watched this another 60s program is Gaslit. Roberts on Stars. Really good. I didn't know this story either.
Me neither. I just saw the trailers. I haven't seen the show, but
pretty good. And then when does Obi-Wan Kenobi start? Isn't that
the 27th? I think it's Star Wars Celebration weekend.
Oh, that's right. So we got a couple weeks.
I did, while we're talking about shit that we watched, I watched Star Trek Strange New Worlds this week.
Oh, that got huge reviews everywhere. The Anson Mount.
Yeah, Anson Mount and Ethan Peck, who is Gregory Peck's grandson, I believe.
Is that right? Peck's bad boy. And what's her name? Rebecca Romaine, formerly Stamos.
Indeed. It's really good. It's really fun. And it's Star Trek as you remember and kind of always want Star Trek to be, which is episode of the week. We're doing a thing. We're exploring. It's all about the possibility of tomorrow and not the regret of yesterday. And it's fun. And somehow Anson Mount as Captain Pike conjures a different energy than Kirk does. Even though he's still got swagger and still got confidence and still has a sense of humor, it's a different thing. And that seems to be a really important modulation in that show. Some people have asked me why I don't talk much about Star Trek Picard here on the podcast, given that it just wrapped its second season.
Yeah, is that over now?
It aired its finale, I want to say like a week ago or so.
Not season finale, but series finale?
No, season finale. They're coming back for season 3. Oh. But like it's a weird thing in that I was on the show for like 30 weeks and, we did a bunch of work, much of which I'm proud of. And then I mustered out of Starfleet. My contract came to an end, and then I was pulled away to work on another show. And the work continued, and things changed, and they shifted, and they evolved. And some of the things that I worked on fell away. Some of the things that I worked on stayed in place. And so I don't really have a connection to the show as it currently airs. And so there's not that much for me to say about it, other than, I think it's a pretty good season of TV. I think that some of the ideas still hold, and some of the themes are still valid. Are there choices that confuse me a little bit? Of course there are. Like sometimes, the new without context is always a little like, that's what they did. Okay, cool. But I just don't have much of a perspective on it. And I don't have much of a firm footing to discuss at length in any real way. So yeah, like
did you watch the final episode?
I haven't yet. I'm slowly making my way through it.
Did Wesley come back? Is that what I saw? Wesley
returns, because his mother plays a little part in it, I think in the premiere. But Wesley comes back from his voyages in the ether, and he had been transformed into some being of cosmic power.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Time Lord.
He's like a Time Lord, and so he's back. And season 3 is very much a Next Generation reunion. Like got most of that original cast to come back as their original characters.
Is that right?
Yeah. Jonathan Frakes and LeVar Burton and Michael Dorn and Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden and one more time with the old gang.
Let me tell you something, man. That's smart. If they didn't get people to sign up for Paramount Plus yet with Picard, that season that like looks like the show everyone loved growing up probably would bring them back.
If you're a Next Gen fan and you want it.
Will Wheaton must have been so stoked, man. Like he does the after show, I
Mhm.
know, but like Wesley was something of a controversial character, to say the least.
Yeah, and he's spoken at length about how growing up as Wesley Crusher while growing up as Will Wheaton was playing a character who was not universally well liked while dealing with all of the teenage identity crises and hormone flares and all that shit, and it's very fraught for him, I think, and so to return and to get one last gasp at finding a peace with that character must have been really special for him.
Mm. All right, back to the news.
Back to the news.
Bamf Man's here. He must have something important to say.
I'll share a fun Wesley Crusher story. Because you said he wasn't universally loved growing up, but he was Jen, my fiance's childhood crush, as Wesley Crusher on Star Trek. And when Rogue One came out, we got a huge group of tickets, and we all went and saw Rogue One together. And Will Wheaton was in our group that went to see Rogue One. And I go, "Oh, hey, Jenny, look, that guy wore a Star Trek uniform," because he wore a Starfleet uniform to the Chinese to see the movie. And she was like, "Oh my God, a Star Trek person at a Star Wars movie." And I knew it was Will Wheaton, and I didn't say anything to her. It was the back of his head. So she ran up to him, and she had on a Starfleet pin and a bracelet that said "To boldly go" or something like that. No. And she grabbed him by the shoulder and was like, "Oh my God, I love Star Trek," and was face to face with her childhood crush, Wesley Crusher, and absolutely was mortified that she had a chance to meet her childhood crush and she was fangirling about Star Trek. All the play it cool, play it cool, play it cool just totally went out the window. And
the best part about that story is that you just shared it with about 200,000 people.
So yeah, she it's like her favorite story and her least favorite story. She was like, "I met my childhood crush and had absolutely zero cool about it."
I think we now understand, man, why you've been waiting to get married so long. You're waiting till she converts, aren't you?
Holding out.
You're like, you got to leave one star behind, crack over to another.
Okay, listen, Mark Hamill, can you just swing by the bar once when my wife fiance's there? I just got to get her onto other childhood crush.
Man, oh man, that's life's cruel little irony. The owner of the Star Wars bar, his lady love, is like, "Why isn't this a Star Trek bar?" Then he's like, "Shh, it's neither.
It's neither. It's a space-themed eatery."
Yeah, that's a laser sword. So fuck off. What other news we got?
Other news: Batman has dethroned Joe Rogan at the top of Spotify's charts.
Look at this. This is crazy, man. And we know that guy. We know a dude who's behind all this. Eric Carrasco, our good friend and Supergirl, former Supergirl writer, former Masters of the Universe season Revelation writer. He has been involved with this Batman podcast. Yeah. And this podcast is so fucking popular, it became the #1 podcast on Spotify.
Indeed, Batman Unburied, which is the brainchild of David Goyer, he of The Dark Knight and 1,000 other things that you've probably seen and loved over the years. And it tells of a Bruce Wayne who's voiced by Winston Duke of Black Panther and Us fame. But this Bruce Wayne is a forensic pathologist who has no memory of being the Caped Crusader at all. And it's really good. I listened to the first 2 episodes.
This is good.
Yeah, I've listened to the first 2. There's 3 and 4 dropped, I think, yesterday. And
I hear Winston's good, and I hear the Alfred's good. Eric said the Alfred is the second best Alfred, maybe the first in the entire.
Yeah, I think it's Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, he said he's really fucking great.
That's amazing.
I might give it a listen, man.
It's worth it.
Yeah, I remember when they started that program. I was talking to the folks about doing a Green Arrow thing, but never really followed up. And I've been podcasting since February 2007. And ever since year one, people have like, why don't you do a scripted thing? And I was like, oh yeah, we should one day. But part of the podcast, fun of podcasting for me is like zero preparation, no work, flying by the seat of your pants. The idea of writing a thing and then producing it for a podcast has always eluded me. But look how successful it could be. Fucking I'm so happy for Eric. He's such a good writer.
And a good dude. Our last story is not a cheery, rosy one, but it's one that we knew was coming because I believe it was maybe about 3 or 4 months ago, the word had broken that George Perez, the acclaimed comic book artist and writer, who did 1,000 things in comics, not the least of which is Crisis on Infinite Earths and the Infinity Gauntlet and reinventing Wonder Woman, had pancreatic cancer and had decided to forego further treatment. And so he was beginning something of a farewell tour. Like he did as many cons as he could to talk to and thank as many fans as he could. I remember seeing from Jim Lee's Instagram that, George had visited the DC headquarters and then like just walked the halls and shaking hands and taking pictures. And Marv Wolfman stopped by so they could all get, some memories together. But he passed. Which we knew was happening. And there was something so lovely about his decision at the end that like, I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to make the last parts of my life as awful as they might be. And so I'm going to go out with a sense of grace and a sense of peace and to be able to say thank you to everybody that I want to and meet the people I haven't. That seemed like a particularly gentle decision to make. But the inevitable end of that decision was that yes, he passed at 67 last week. The statement from his family said that he was not in pain and knew he was very, very loved. We're all very much grieving, but at the same time, we are so incredibly grateful for the joy that he brought to our lives. To know George was to love him, and he loved back, fiercely and with his whole heart. The world is a lot less vibrant today without him in it.
He was one of the good ones, man. I mean, an absolute legend, of course, in the art form, whose work on Wonder Woman, whose work on Crisis, whose work on the aforementioned Infinity Gauntlet, stellar Titanic, Mount Rushmore work. But the thing you hear time and time again, and that I knew personally from all the folks on Comic Book Men, and also from having met George in life, he was such a nice guy, such an absolute sweetheart. We still have his shirt hanging up at the stash. In the episode, he gave us one of his, shirts, lamb chop shirt, I believe, and it's still hanging up at the store. What a gentle giant he was. And I don't mean giant in size, I mean giant in fucking career. And this was a guy who, by all reports, if he was going through a con and people were like, George, he'd come over and tag something and then keep going. Just a damn sweetheart. They had a thing for him not too long ago where Jim McLaughlin, a friend of ours, had invited me to go see him. And unfortunately, I had a family thing and I couldn't make it out. But man, just, you're tempted to just, of course, focus on like, it sucks to lose a legend, but like, it's amazing we had that guy at all. Look at the work he produced that will live forever. His renditions of some of our favorite characters set the standard. And he set the standard, at least personally, it seemed, with the fan base. Like, always had time for people who appreciated his work, always had time to represent the art form. Lovely dude. He was so sweet. It was always very nice to me. And didn't need to be. I'm sure he wasn't really familiar with my body of work, certainly wasn't as familiar with my body of work as I was with his. But it sucks getting old, kids. You just watch people whose work has meant so much to you slip away. Human race runs forward, and we get a few moments to look back when a runner stumbles, and then we keep going forward. But for George Perez, I think we should all stop for more than a beat. Just think, and not just look back over our shoulders, but take a good pause and appreciate what he brought to the medium.
Yeah, and the thing that always strikes me when you hear these stories, especially with somebody like George Perez, is like you said, he did not have to be as gracious and as nice with his fans as he was, but he was, and the idea that that's not the default for when you have some measure of stature in the business. The fact that that anybody thinks that a path towards interaction with a fan base or community or just random strangers in the streets should be one of sort of antagonism or distance or standoffishness. It's like you could fucking be this guy who, out of his pen came some of the greatest comics of the 20th century, who would stop and shake hands with everybody, who would sign a comic book whenever he wanted to, who would take a picture, even if he was busy. The balance of the statement from the Facebook post from the family so that everyone knows George's legacy as a creator. His art, his characters and stories will be revered for years to come. But as towering as that legacy is, it pales in comparison to the legacy of the man George was. George's true legacy is his kindness. And so be that.
Pour one out for an absolute legend, kids. We'll not see his like pass this way ever again. Thank you, George.
Indeed.
I guess we should. Oh, Banff Man is here. What's up, kid?
Keeping the theme of the show kind of low here. I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Michael Gill, who passed away just after May the 4th, very unexpectedly. He was somebody who came to all the Fat Man shows and just kind of sat in the back and loved just watching us do the show at the cantina. And he was a staple at the bar. He was there, 3 or 4 nights a week. He was like kind of like our Norm. Every time he walked in the bar, everybody would yell at the top of their lungs, "Michael fucking Gill." And he was the guy who came into the bar that, it can get the cliquey with regulars and people, but he was the one who brought maybe the person who was sitting by themselves for the first time. He would sit down next to them and have a conversation about Star Wars or about music or something like that. And he was only like 46 years old, so super young. And I became friends with him because when I would write the hardest Star Wars trivia I could and host it at the bar, he consistently came in first, second, or third place. So there's only a few of people out there that are that elite. So we became really good friends very fast. And so I just want to give him a shout out because he was definitely a staple at Scum and Villainy, a staple at Fat Man Beyond shows. And when I get in touch with his family, what we want to do is have somebody do like a Han Solo and Carbonite of him, and we're gonna put him up in the back of the bar so that I'm gonna get emotional, so that he never has to leave. He's always at home.
I like that. I think that's really beautiful. I'm sorry to hear about him passing, to say the least, man. Michael fucking Gill, man. We'll miss you at the show, and we'll miss you at the bar. Thanks for being a good one.
Fuck, the best.
Man. Yeah.
Lights of Angels.
I mean, every time you watch a Marvel movie, they always hit you with like, death is what gives life meaning. But I don't know. I can find a lot of meaning in life. I don't need it to end. I especially don't like seeing it end for people long before what could be their time. How old was Michael?
I think he was like 46. He was
Jesus. Young. That ain't right, man. Let's while we're down in the dumps, last bit of news we could add is they canceled Legends of Tomorrow finally.
Yeah, I thought we talked about that last week. Did we talk about that in Batwoman? Catwoman.
Did we?
We did.
Probably. And then some trailers dropped this week. The House of the Dragon trailer.
Indeed.
What'd you think?
I'll still show up. Like, even though I did not love that final season of Game of Thrones, like, if you just back it all up and tell me there's going to be people with British accents and dragons and sword fighting and Iron Thrones, yeah, at the very least, I'll give it a look.
My wife was like, because she didn't watch Game of Thrones, but she knew I was a big fan. And we were watching some HBO show. The We Own This City, the David Simon show. Fucking phenomenal. It's almost like a spiritual sequel to The Wire. So worth watching. But as we were watching, I think the trailer came up for the Game of Thrones spinoff. And knowing that I liked Game of Thrones quite a bit, she was like, are you psyched? And I was like, I'm trying to get psyched, but it's like takes place 1,000 years before any of the people that I give a shit about are born. Like, the way I hear it, it's a prequel, correct? Mm-hmm. So, they got some work to do to win me over. But I mean, Game of Thrones did it in terms of I didn't know any of those fuckers. And by the end of the first episode, I was like, I want to know them all, even the shitty people. So, Matt Smith's a wonderful actor. I'm sure I'll be sucked in. They got fucking dragons.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird though when they're, at one point in the trailer, they're like, they'd rather fucking burn down the world than see a woman sit on the Iron Throne. And it's weird knowing what happens to the Iron Throne eventually. It's like, doesn't matter who sits in it. A dragon burns it as kind of a statement, metaphor at one point.
Whole ass thing that happens.
I'm sorry, I said 1,000. 200 years before Game of Thrones, I'm being corrected by Alex Garcia in chat. And then Seattle KO said 1,000 years before, but still looks like it's the same era. Okay, and then there was a Kenobi trailer, a new one.
Yeah, which had some of the same footage.
Yeah,
as the old one.
All that different, but I'm still on board. I can't wait for more Kenobi.
Some more Uncle Owen stuff, I think, in there. A little bit more executor, executioner, or whatever they call him. Batman will correct me.
And then there was Bathman, I'm sure you got something to say about this.
Inquisitor is what.
Inquisitors. There it is. Whoops.
I'm in. I can't wait for it to begin. They got me with that trailer where he's like cucking out on baby Luke and shit. I was like, oh yeah.
Fly that imaginary space fighter kid.
That's the Star Wars I want to see, man. Fuck baby Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker. People are like, Star Wars has to grow beyond the Skywalker saga. I'm like, not in my lifetime. I'm like, you can do that when I'm dead. I like these Skywalker stories. I like that everyone's related in the galaxy. One big old tiny galaxy.
I would like for some of this show to be about Obi-Wan looking for somebody to cleanse the evil off of the lightsaber he's been going to give to Luke. Like, this was your father's lightsaber. He only killed 30 children with it, and, I pulled it off of his smoking body. So I hacked him to bits. But now it's yours.
Yeah, take this fucking laser sword. It was like your father's metal dick.
Yeah, his fucking murder weapon. Good luck.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm ready for some fucking Kenobi. Like you and McGregor, I'll watch him do anything. And for years, I'll watch him do anything. But like, even in Birds of Prey, he had my favorite fucking moment where he called her. He's like, "What are you, fucking dumb?" Or called her. He goes, "You're a fucking moron." It made me laugh so hard. In a DC movie, he fucking called Harley Quinn, "You're a fucking moron."
I watched him drive his motorcycle up and down all over the world. If you've never seen his motorcycle documentary, so the Long Way series. There's like the Long Way Round, where he rode around the world, the Long Way Down, where he drove down to Africa, I think, and then the Long Way Up, where he drove from the tip of South America up to Los Angeles. Like, it's fucking Ian McGregor and his best friend just ride motorcycles, and they're super fun. and just wonderful to watch. And also like scenery porn. Like I want to watch beautiful vistas, and I want to watch two dudes riding motorcycles through them. Not a bad way to spend an afternoon.
No, he's a talented, handsome man.
Indeed.
I will train spot for him all day long. Did you ever watch the Train Spotting sequel?
I never did.
Fucking really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stuck the landing.
Oh wait, I did watch it.
I was impressed. I liked it.
I remember watching it and going, my God, Ewan McGregor's aged better than anybody else in the history of the planet.
Yeah.
Like definitely any white dude I've ever seen. It's like, holy shit, this was 20 years ago and you still look amazing.
You know what they say, Mac don't crack. So I believe he's Mac Gregor, isn't he? I don't know.
He is a Mac. And then the Avatar trailer, which I suppose.
Joe Wayland Yutani in chat says, cuck is not a word to use about a kid. Yeah, no shit. That's why it's funny. And maybe he was being funny and I just misread that, but okay. Avatar. That was another trailer that dropped.
Yeah.
We got our first look at Avatar 2 Electric Boogaloo. No, The Way of Water, which was the original title for Mark's script on Masters of the Universe.
It was. See, that's why we changed it.
Yeah, we were worried about fucking getting Cameron all over. No, very little dialogue, but certainly a return to Navi. Is that the name of the planet?
No, I can't remember the name of the
They
planet.
are the Navi.
They are the Navi with the people.
Yeah.
Bamf. I think.
Thank God, Banff Man's here to rescue us. What do you think, Banff Man?
I think the planet was called Fern Gully.
Oh
shit! He to drop some fucking shade on Cameron. Wow. Pandora. Yeah, everyone on chat is reminding us of Pandora. Yes. Look, it's not like I'm not gonna see it.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to bet against James Cameron because everybody who ever has lost their fucking marbles.
Yeah.
Because they said that Titanic was going to ruin a movie studio. How dare you spend this much money on this? And it was the highest grossing movie of all time. They said the exact same thing about Avatar. You're going to bankrupt this fucking studio. You got to be out of your minds. It was the highest grossing movie of all time. But that said, CG for CG's sake is not enough these days. Like, we've seen wonders, we've seen glories, we've seen the impossible rendered on screen for us. And so for me, what needs to work is I need to know what the story is. I need to know what the drama is. And until that shows up, then it's like, oh, this is a really good cutscene for a video game, or this is a really good demo clip for Best Buy's wall of televisions. Like, it's gorgeous, but I need more than gorgeous. I need involving in order for me to invest. But I will not be the dude to bet against James Cameron because many have tried and failed.
I remember liking that movie. And I haven't watched it in a couple of years. I think I watched it like maybe 3 years ago, and it's still held up for me and stuff. But he's a great filmmaker and storyteller, so he generally always delivers something fucking interesting to watch, and he's always pushing the medium forward. But he committed to these Blue Cats in a big bad way, and so I'll be there. But I wasn't like, oh my God, I was like, oh, right on.
Cool.
But I'm glad it's getting done. I like that first one, so I can't see not liking the second one, but the trailer didn't make me go like, oh, I got to stay alive until that happens. I do want to stay alive until it happens.
That'd be great.
But when sometimes I see a trailer that's like, that turns me into Daniel Day-Lewis and fucking Last of the Mohicans, talking to myself. I'm like, stay alive. I will find you.
No matter what occurs.
Yeah. I mean, There's some shit I'd wait for when it come home. I would definitely go see that in the theater on the big screen. But I trust him as a storyteller. Look, it's not. I mean, he's going to be. I'm sure he's read the Fern Gully fucking criticism, so I'm sure he's going to come with something way different second time around.
I mean, I have a feeling that when Quentin Tarantino read the criticisms of his feet fetish, and then he was like, "Once upon a time in Hollywood, motherfucker, I'm gonna put these feet on the screen, son. I'm gonna give you nothing but dirty tootsies everywhere." So like, there's that version of it also, which is, oh, I read it, I know it, I'm doubling down on it. Welcome to Pocahontas land.
Do you know what's fucking really good is that Avatar ride at Disney? Do you ever get to go on that?
Never did.
Really fucking dope. Like convincing as fuck and feels like it's part of the story and shit like that. I remember being thrilled when I ran on that ride, so I'm sure I'll like that. You know what? I'll go see the fucking Avatar 2, the wettening or whatever the fuck in 40X, man.
Nothing but water in your face.
Oh, the whole time it'll be like blasting my face, neck and chest and stuff.
Look at this squirt.
Look like a 90s porn star. Right on, man. All right, so I'm looking in chat, see if there's anything else they want us to talk about that we missed. People are screaming Cobra Kai season 5. Yes. Did they just announce it?
They just dropped the trailer.
A trailer. The trailer just dropped. I've not seen that trailer yet, but I will watch it. I continue to love and support the Cobra Kai show. They asked me to do a panel for them coming up, but I sadly couldn't do it. I would have loved to. But yeah, I didn't see the trailer yet. I will watch it. And people are saying Toxic Avenger Dinklage.
Well, he's playing the Toxic Avenger in the remake.
Did they just cast him or drop a trailer?
They must have dropped a trailer because I think they cast him like 6 or 7 months ago.
Some folks are saying, Seattle KO is like, are you excited for Top Gun Maverick? When we went to the ScreenX screening of Doctor Strange, which we'll be talking about next, they showed us like 5-6 minutes from Top Gun sequence in 40X, and it looked, good.
Looked like Top Gun.
It looked like Top Gun, well made. I saw that movie in the theater a long time ago, but I honestly don't remember if I've seen it since. Movie was a little too butch for a soft boy like me, Mark.
I mean, there was lots of sweaty dudes with lots of muscles playing.
Even the volleyball game I found threatening. These guys are too strong. They take their shirts off. I would never do something like that. And they fly planes really, really fast. But what I saw looked, wonderful. Once again, if I was going to go see that, I would go see it in 40X or something. And I don't say that because they give me money. They do not. I say it because that would make up for any lack of interest I had in the subject matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to give me a funny chair to enjoy a Marvel movie, but you might have to give me a funny chair to get me into a Top Gun. That's not to be said of all Tom Cruise movies. I would gleefully go watch a Mission Impossible.
Always.
But Top Gun, were you a big Top Gun kid?
Like I remember it so vividly as like, an MTV movie, because it felt like the very beginning of that. It's a movie for the MTV generation. Look at all of these cuts. It's moving so fast. There's no story. I kind of didn't care because it was very much Tom Cruise at his most Tom Cruisiness. And yeah, like the fucking plane scenes are pretty great, even for 1980s, even with, fucking the Simpson Bruckheimer formula, facts that work, even with Tony Scott doing all that he could. Like it's not a good movie, but it might be a great movie, and I'm not even sure why.
People are asking about the Weird Al trailer. Did you see it?
I did.
It's good, and Daniel Radcliffe looks like he's fucking doing it.
It's the way to make that kind of trailer, which is 5 gold albums, millions of records sold out tour dates. one accordion.
Wanna Beetle is telling me that Top Gun was not Butch, quite the opposite in reality. But he liked it because his brother had joined the Navy a year or two before, and he's just into jets in general, the dogfight scene and Star Wars and stuff. Yeah, totally. See, man, it's like that's an emotional connection to that movie. Like you're emotionally connected to Top Gun because, like you said, I liked it because my brother had joined the Navy a year or two before. So you've got a deeper connection to Top Gun than just the person sitting there watching a flick. I don't, I've known some people in the Air Force or whatever, or Navy, but I've, I never saw that movie and I said, oh, it reminds me of the best I could do to get emotional about that movie is like I saw it with my parents. That was it. But yeah, again, 40X that's going to be the key for me. I want to experience that movie the way Tom Cruise experiences everything at 100%, 110%, Mark. Pure joy. This poor son of a bitch, like, decided at a certain point in his career that he's like, I got to nearly fucking destroy my life on each and every movie with a fucking death-defying stunt in order to get these people to pay attention.
Yeah. Like, what'll it take? Do I have to insure myself? Do I have to put a $50 million insurance policy on me? Done.
I was disappointed that he was not the superior Iron Man in Multiverse of Madness.
Can we get into it?
I guess we should, we should slide into it. Kids, we're going to finish up with our review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And we're not going to be able to do Q&A tonight because JC's got to light off to the bar for Star Wars trivia. So if you're in the Hollywood area, fuck us. Go to the Scum and Villainy Cantina and get your fucking trivia on while you get your drink on and stuff like that. Fucking a bunch of fucking Star Wars fans sitting around the bar going like, yeah, I used to be a Star Wars fan. It's a tough racket.
We also have our whole new food menu tonight.
Oh, tell us about your food menu and quickly tell us about how May the 4th was before we dive into Doctor Strange. May the 4th is a huge holiday for the Scum and Villainy Cantina. How'd you guys do?
It was, so it was a Wednesday. So I was like, how many people are going to take off work and come into a bar at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday at the beginning of May? Turns out quite a few. We were slammed from 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. And it was our busiest day ever. It was busier than the May the 4th that we had in 2019 pre-pandemic. So people were hungry for their Star Wars. A lot of really good costumes. And it was just such a great crowd. Like at the end of the night, we have 27 different versions of the Cantina song. Like we have a steel drum version and we have a jazz version and a lounge version. And I just put them on loop for the last 2 hours and people just danced and sang and celebrated and went wild for 2 hours every time the Cantina song played.
Fantastic, man. If only every month there was a May the 4th.
Yeah. God,
well, you get wonderful. Two in this month of May, though, right? Like May the 4th, and then you also get celebration spillover as well.
That's true. We will have celebration spillover, and we
Revenge of the 5th/6th. Like you get a whole 3-day chunk.
We so new food menu tonight. We're adding Impossible Burger for people who don't eat animal products. We're adding.
Why, thank you, good sir.
We have elote street corn that is rolled in flaming hot Cheetos, crushed flaming hot Cheetos.
I'm not a corn person, but that sounds good.
So yeah, we're trying to, when we reopened and looking at kind of any holes we had at Scum and Villainy, The only thing I was dissatisfied with was where our food menu is. So we hired a really good chef who came in and reinvented our whole menu. So it's super tasty, and we're going to do dinner specials all summer long, so everybody can come in and enjoy.
Fucking A. Look at you guys having a blast. I'm so jealous. I
And so-
had a chance to invest in that fucking bar, and I regret every day that I didn't, because boy, oh boy, JC seems to have fun over there. But I'm happy that we get to perform there and stuff like that. I'm just happy to see a fucking friend succeed. But it's I like that you keep it fresh. Whatever happened to keeping it fresh? And you're keeping it fresh.
I'm just sad that there's a chance there may not be any more mozzarella sticks.
There are no more fried mozzarella. You'll have to pick a new favorite.
Pick an Impossible Burger, bitch. Join me in the plant-based universe. Extend your life by a little bit longer.
Yeah, it'll be more of the part of the life you don't want to have more of. Like I'm 97 years old and I can't chew food, but there's goodness, I Impossible Burgered it for 20 years. To get this 6 months where my ass doesn't close.
Dentistry is like fucking taking leaps and bounds every day, my friend. So you could have a full set of choppers in your 90s, your third set.
Indeed. And I'll be wasting on an Impossible Burger and not a fucking
You're
steak.
like, I want to eat cows.
Ignorance is bliss.
All right, man. So there, kids. That's let's
New food.
Yeah, let's go to the cantina when you can. He's got new food for yous. What about booze? You got new booze for yous?
Bam. At the end of the month,
Bam.
hopefully by celebration, we have cocktails made with CBD that are coming to the menu. So if you're like, yeah, I'm not really a drinker, we're going to have CBD cocktails, and we just got in a whole line of alcohol that's non-alcoholic, if that makes sense. So we have like non-alcoholic vodka, non-alcoholic gin, that we're going to be doing mocktails of, a big selection of our cocktails for. So if you don't, yeah, so if you don't like the alcohol part of drinking, you can still come in and drink without it.
Don't forget, kids, the Scum and Villainy Cantina is on Hollywood Boulevard in historic Hollywood, California. Pop in when you can. On the other side of the country, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, the most famous comic book store in the world. Check them out when you're back east. Let's shall we?
Bamf.
We got to get into it, man. Oh, Bamfan's back.
Quick,
what the fuck?
Do you ever think that Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash is probably one of the top 5 secrets or comic book shops in the world, best well known? Like maybe
I think we promote that we're the most famous comic book store in the world. I don't know what the other. I don't know what this top 5 shit is, JC.
But, I mean, everybody knows about it. Isn't that wild that you own this little? I mean, it's a mom and pop business that is worldwide famous. I tell that to Jen all the time. I say, Scum and Villainy is probably one of the most famous non-chain bars in the world, because she's like, oh, it's just our little thing. I was like, no. It's like people all over the world know about Scum and Villainy. Like, how crazy is that?
You have a brick and mortar business. You and I have brick and mortar businesses that people will get on a plane and travel just to see. That's breathing rarefied air, man. Fucking most people don't travel to go to a fucking store. They'll go to the store in their town or buy from Amazon. But people like to make pilgrimages, be able to go to the actual place. It's kind of dope, man.
It's
I appreciate
so crazy.
it. I know I appreciate everybody who comes through our doors. I know you appreciate everybody who comes through your doors as well.
I'm astounded daily when I think about it.
I saw a comment earlier in chat that said this show is laid out. What does that mean? Anybody know?
Not sure, unless we're sucking each other's dicks part of the show.
What part of the show is that? That sounds hot.
Isn't it though? Oh.
We need a young person's opinion on this.
We don't have any though.
Yeah, I was gonna say Banff Man's old too. Fucking the heat, man. What do you do? Maybe chat knows. What does that mean? Laid out. LAID out.
Like we need an intern.
I thought it was played out, but laid out. Like laid out to rest. Like, are we done? People telling us like, you old men are, you shouldn't do a show that's free on the internet. Or you could just not watch it if that's what laid out means. Or does it mean laid out?
Like well planned, maybe. Oh, they've laid out the way the show's going to work, which is not true. But
we got people in chat who are like, Golden Apple is a well-known comic shop. Yeah, of course. Nobody's saying that nobody doesn't know the Golden Apple. Like just like nobody's saying nobody don't know Midtown Comics in New York. But or you know, many comic book stores, House of Secrets out here. I'm personally saying, and I ain't looking to fight anybody, but all I'm saying, I don't even know if it's true, but what we promote at the Secret Stash is that the Secret Stash is the most famous comic book store in the world. And it's like the pizza fucking, you know, you tried the rest, now try the best. We can't prove it, but it's a good thing it's just on a fucking paper bag that you walk out of the store with your shit in and not some legally binding contract. There, I've said my piece. And now, kids, now we've got to we got to get there. We're going to talk about it.
ready?
Oh, yeah. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I went first on Moon Knight. So fool me once, you know, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I'm going to let you drive this puppy.
Indeed.
And I'll let you, Mark, wonder what my reaction to the movie is going to be.
So, okay. It's funny because the way it usually works is you go on for 20 minutes and I go, yeah.
yeah. How do you fucking, now I'm disrupting your formula.
Yes, it's not laid out as what I'm planning it to be. I will say a couple of things. I will say that, like, listen, I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan and have been since Evil Dead 2, which I think was my first Sam Raimi movie. And when Sam Raimi gets to be Sam Raimi, I think parts of this movie are incredibly fun. You know, I think specifically in like the last half hour where it just becomes a horror show, when it becomes, you know, zombie Doctor Strange and like, you know, creatures with eyes getting poked out and the amazing like musical note fight, which I don't think I've ever seen on screen before, but, you know, was like, Danny Elfman, go to town and we'll make it look cool and angry and woundy and all of that stuff. I thought it was great. I thought when it indulged in its own weird insanity, it had a certain kind of manic heartbeat that I really, really found attractive. But I think that, like, as a follow-up to Spider-Man No Way Home, which introduced the idea of a multiverse, this felt like it was a completely different version of multiverses. And not as if, you know, the multiverse needs to be the same thing, but some internal consistency within the same overall story. And like, I didn't quite vibe with Wanda as the villain, because I didn't understand her particular want, and that I want my babies back. It's like, yeah, but they were always made up. It's like, but there's an other universe where they were real. It's like, yeah, but there's also another universe where Vision was real. Why don't you want Vision back? Like, Vision was real. It was always real for you and is now gone. Or White Vision that's still out there somewhere that we have never talked about since, you know, the pale robot Avenger just vanished into the ether.
I was surprised that he didn't show up.
Yeah, it's like, what is her story? What does she want? Why does she want it? And more to the point, what does Doctor Strange want? Because it doesn't seem as if he has a big emotional drive in this movie. It's to stop Wanda, which, okay, sure, that's your hero thing. But like, Christine gets married, and so now he finds himself rethinking his position on things, I guess. But that's not the story of the movie. That's not his quest. His quest is very reactive. It's, I'm going to stop these monsters from hunting this very attractive young plot device named America Chavez, who really only exists to not even be a character. She has no story. She's just an object that people seem to want. She doesn't want anything either other than to not die, which is valid, but I don't know who she is. The one 3 seconds where she steps on a disc in the street and we see that her parents get, shunted into different universes, does not a character make. It's an event in her life. And so that bond between these two characters never really held for me. The bad guy being bad simply because she's baby crazy felt wonky to me, if not troublesome to me. And the multiverse, as they portrayed it, doesn't seem fun in a way that I'm looking for a Marvel movie to be fun. Not that every movie needs to be fun, but we're only ever in 2 universes, really. We're in our Prime universe, and we're in the freaky Shadow universe, and then we're in the one where you get to meet the Illuminati. And that seems to be about it. The Illuminati.
Yeah, I will say that I guess the multiverse of madness implied to me before I saw the movie, you're going to see so many iterations of these characters. And this is not a complaint. It just felt like they promised Disney World and gave you Great Adventure. Or Six Flags. Sorry, Great Adventure is the Six Flags in New Jersey. But in terms of a multiverse of madness, it was like, well, I guess we went to more than one universe, but we didn't really spend a fuck ton of time like doing what I think, and nobody promised this, but I think based on the descriptions and the shooting and the conjecture that people had, it was like, oh my God, this is going to be like No Way Home, but instead of 3 Peter Parkers, it's going to be every fucking Marvel character from every Marvel movie that wasn't a Marvel movie. We're going to see Ben Affleck as Daredevil. We're going to see Chris Evans as fucking the Human Torch and stuff. And that's not Marvel's fault or Disney's fault. They didn't say any of that shit. But I think that's what a lot of people, based on reactions I've seen, were like, this is it? Like, you're going to turn them into paint characters, and then, right. And they meet the Illuminati, and then that's about all. But I personally, even though they didn't give me like the fucking, look at all these fucking Marvel freaks and variants, I enjoyed the story they gave us. And I was more than happy to go to like fucking the Illuminati fucking world. I love when they finally fucking said Earth, what they call it, the Earth 616.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to you. Sorry.
And like, I didn't understand, except Yes, I understand that No Way Home introduces through multiverse. And that idea of the multiverse is we're going to see various interpretations of a character played by actors who we know play that character. Like that was the conceit of it, is that, look, 3 Peter Parkers, and it's all of our on-screen Peter Parkers. But every Doctor Strange is played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
True.
Like, why were there not other things? And granted, it was because we wouldn't recognize them. And so I suppose casting a bunch of other Stranges maybe didn't make sense for them, because we got the one guy that we can just give a ponytail, and now he's a different Doctor Strange.
Well, hold on. Like, you get the outfit the same. You can put anybody in the Doctor Strange outfit, and most people will be like, all right, that's Tom Cruise Doctor Strange. All right, that's fucking Timothy Chalamet Strange. That's fucking, as long as the cape's there and the fucking Eye of Agamotto's in place, they could have done that. Never occurred to me that you're right. Like, we see lots of other people playing people we've seen before. Well, maybe not. I mean, Patrick Stewart is playing Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. Anson Mount played Black Bolt again, like he did in the short-lived show. We had Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel, instead of Brie Larson. And then, of course, spoilers.
Captain Carter.
Well, Captain Carter, that's not so much a spoiler. She's in the trailer. Spoilers, John Krasinski as Reed Richards, the worst kept secret on the internet. In terms of heading into that movie, I would have been shocked if he wasn't in it.
Except that there's no guarantee that he is, which means like it's a multiverse. Like the Reed Richards of the feature film could be anybody. Right. Doesn't have to be that guy. Like, and there was a feeling of impermanence to all of it. Like, by the end of this movie, does any of it matter? And like, yes, I know that there's mention of things like incursions, which dovetail into the Hickman run on Secret Wars and the Avengers and all of that stuff, which then brings you to the end of that road is Beyonders and Secret Wars and every version of every Marvel character going to the Beyond battle world and fighting each other for, and condensing all of the multiverses into one Earth.
Well, they got a long time before they get there, man. Like, I know everyone's like, Secret Wars, they all fight each other like Civil War. It's like, oh no, Secret War is a lot more fucking involved than that. They got to build that shit up with a few big events before we get to that.
Yeah. And so like I just found myself, there was something about phase 1 and 2, and I guess 3 of the MCU, which gave you very clear sort of dramatic pull from movie to movie. The idea that we're going to fight against Loki, the idea that the Avengers are going to form is what unites those first like 6 movies. And then Ultron kind of unites the last chunk of movies, and all pointing downwards towards Thanos. And so I'm feeling that at all, even the like Guardians of the Galaxy, which really had no business being part of that overall story, still was. Like, we're still dealing with Infinity Stones. We're still dealing with all of these things. But by the time you get to Multiverse of Madness, it's just on an island. Like, all of these movies of this last phase have felt very isolated. Like, Shang-Chi is its own thing, and we're never talking about that. And Black Widow clearly was its own island because it takes place in the past. And Eternals, like, are we ever going to figure out what's the deal with Eros and the rest of all of that stuff? Maybe, maybe not, but it has nothing to do with this movie. Like, it all feels so isolated. It doesn't feel like that giant tapestry being woven to lead us to a point the way it had in the past. And that's might be just a storytelling style that they're shifting into, and maybe a different mode of ingesting these movies. But I just kind of felt, that I wasn't captivated. I wasn't pulled through the movie. I didn't investigate who Doctor Strange was in any real way, and I kept on wondering, like, is Doctor Strange going to be the bad guy of the Doctor Strange movie? If the whole idea is that the big thing that the Illuminati is afraid of is him, then like, make him the bad guy. Like, I actually don't need Wanda to be my villain of this movie. Like, she had her own story. She had her own thing that didn't spark a multiverse at all. But like, the idea of this guy who cast a spell to help a teenager like get into college might be the bad guy of a big ass movie like this. Like, yeah, that I buy 100%. Give me evil Doctor Strange, and not as sort of a cameo, but as my antagonist. And then it gets to be about the title character. It gets to be about what makes that guy tick, and his impulses and his indulgences and his lapses of judgment. There's a reason why potentially that's not the snap, why he's not the Sorcerer Supreme. Because Wong knows it, and Mordo knows it, and everybody knows that like, this guy's unstable. And if he makes the wrong left, right, and a left, he's in despot territory. He's in using magic for his own gain territory. And like, all of that feels juicy to me in a way that like chasing a lady who wants her kids, who could just conjure fucking kids because she's a magic lady.
Yes. That was one of my thoughts as I was watching the movie. I was like, why is she specifically looking for these kids in this particular dimension, particularly considering there's no vision and evidence? It just like, if you're the Scarlet Witch, can't you just make some kids? Wouldn't that be
She'll always know that they're not her kids, no matter what she does. So why steal them from some other lady? And just, if you can alter reality, just do that. Just do that. And like, and similar to the end of Moon Knight, like, if your power set is I can rewrite the fabric of the world, of time itself, of nature, why are you flinging energy bolts at people? Why is that you're like, I got to do the pew, pew, pew? Like, why not just change the fabric of reality? Because that's your power set. Like, it was never as interesting as I felt it could have been, given the pieces that we had to play with. And given the crazy ass brilliance that is Sam Raimi, kind of squeezing to fit inside of a box that really doesn't fit him. Every now and again escaping and doing some cool ass shit, but then being put back in the box. So like, I guess to sum up, not the biggest fan of this movie. It has its momentary pleasures, and it has, like, I like Benedict Cumberbatch and I like Elizabeth Olsen. I like most of the people in it. But I just wish that it all didn't feel quite so perfunctory to a goal that didn't feel that worthwhile. Like you could have pulled the Illuminati segment out of the movie and the same thing would have happened. Like, because I have no emotional connection to those characters other than, oh, it's Patrick Stewart, it's Charles Xavier. I like him. Sure hope he doesn't die. Oh, well, so to kill all of those characters just to stall Wanda from getting to America Chavez was just like, sure. I mean, I guess like Black Bolt whispering inside his own head and crushing his skull is super metal.
And he had the tuning fork. God, it takes so little for me. Seeing the tuning fork like did it for me. Like seeing his screen accurate outfit. Professor X rolling into the fucking theme music from the cartoon did it for me. Reed Richards talking about Sue, where fucking Scarlet Witch was like, "Do you have a wife? Do you still have a wife in this reality?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, maybe she could take care of the kid." A kind of reference to Franklin Richards. I know we've seen Fantastic Four movies before, but this was the first reference to a Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. His spoilers, kids, I'm sure you figured out by now, his finale was pretty fucking dope and metal. I remember early on after WandaVision saying like, "Oh, I hope she's the bad guy." She becomes bad. Like, I hope she's got the Darkhold now, that it's going to turn her into a bad guy. And I think the reason was a little, I want my kids. Like, well, they weren't your kids. You can make them. Just make another Hex world. You don't even have to make a whole Hex world, like where you take over a town. She had a Hex yard where Doctor Strange came in and the whole fucking thing looked like cherry blossoms or apple blossoms. Then it turned out it wasn't the case. So clearly, if you can conjure that, hex yourself that little corner of the world and make your kids again. I don't know, but that was not enough to make me be like, I didn't like this. I loved the movie. I had a great time. I think I did go in with when I read Multiverse of Madness, I'm like, this is just gonna be a fucking fun house, man, of like Marvel characters galore, because the bar has now been set very high with Endgame and Civil War to Infinity War to Endgame to most recently Spider-Man No Way Home, where they're like, look, we're going to crisscross all these characters. And they did a bunch of that in Doctor Strange 2, just not as much as I thought they would. But it wasn't enough to make me be like, this is bullshit. It wasn't like, what it reminded me of, and this is not a diss, because I love Iron Man 3, but you had the Avengers happen, and then the next movie was Iron Man 3, and as much as I love Iron Man 3, it's got one hero and he barely wears the costume. I mean, there's also War Machine and Iron Patriot or whatever the fuck, but it was just not, I wouldn't call it a come down. That's like too strong a term, but as the next one that followed one of their event pictures, it was just like, oh, all right, this will do.
Right.
And
Avengers like 1.5.
It's kind of this, it felt like, Spider-Man No Way Home 1.5. And that's okay for me. I love this shit. I'll fucking watch a half-hour episode of this. If they turn it into a TV show, I'll watch a 4-hour movie if they make it as a movie, because I love this shit. But it was thinner than I imagined it to be. And again, that has everything to do with reading the internet and fucking believing gossip sites. I was fucking positive that Tom Cruise as Superior Iron Man was going to be in this fucking movie. And again, it's not like, and I hated it because he wasn't, but that was the level of expectation that was being presented. Like, you ain't seen nothing yet. And we have seen something similar, not story wise, or not, directorial wise. And for the record, Sam Raimi did a fucking fantastic job. Him and James Gunn may be like the perfect Marvel filmmakers. It's some people said like, oh, well, it's diluted Sam Raimi, but like, Sam's done that before. Like, there are movies where he gets to be 100% Sam Raimi, and then there are movies where he reins it in, and you just see flourishes of it. But I could still see him, and not in an intrusive way, all over the movie. And I was happy to see him doing what he loves. He's a Ditko kid. So he's directed 2 Ditko characters, right? He's done Spider-Man, and now he's done Doctor Strange. And I hope he continues to do more. But when they brought him in and they described what it was going to be, I was like, oh, like, well, this is going to blow the original Doctor Strange out of the water. But at the end of the day, it doesn't. It's a nice companion piece, but the original Doctor Strange is still a really wonderful flick that absolutely works incredibly well. And this is just like the fun amusement park version of it or something. Like, if Doctor Strange was Raiders of the Lost Ark, this is definitely Temple of Doom.
Yeah, like I similarly, like, there's a version of that Illuminati sequence where, it's Tom Cruise as Superior Iron Man. It's Wesley Snipes as T'Challa. Like, it's all of the near miss casting things that we didn't get. But even still, that's just one scene.
Yeah.
Like, that makes that one scene interesting from that guy's playing that guy? Cool. What's he going to do? He's going to die in 5 minutes. And then we're going to push on to the rest of the movie. Like, sure, that'd have been neat to see. But it's one of those, and we've said it before, or at least I've said it before, is that I wanted this movie to be about Stephen Strange and what makes him tick. The first one is about a man with hubris, about a man who believes that he's more important than everything else, that he's the center of the universe, who learns that he's not. And so what's the second movie about? And I don't know what it says about Stephen Strange in this movie. I don't know what the perspective on the character is. And if you're going to, I know Tony Stark's perspective in every one of those movies. I know that character. I know who he is. Some of it's because it's RDJ playing that guy. But if you're going to give me Iron Man 3, which the middle of that movie becomes a Rockford Files episode about a shaggy dog detective who's looking for a criminal with a plucky young kid sidekick, sure, because it's fucking Robert playing Tony, and I get that. I'll endure that because it's fun. But I don't even know who this guy is anymore. I have no read on this guy. I know who Thor is. Ragnarok did a great job of redefining that character, who made sense in the beginning. He's Hamlet. All of the other Marvel characters that we know and love, some here, some gone, you knew who those characters were. And I don't really have a good read on who Stephen Strange is. And I should by now, given that he's been in 5 of these movies already. Is he the cozy dude with the slippers who does magic spells for kids? Is he the insane man who looks into the yawning maw of time to decide which singularity to follow? All valid, but pick one and then find the drama in who that guy is. And that's what I was missing. If you'd given me that, if you'd give me a take on Stephen Strange, then everything else might have fallen into place, because then the villain is about your hero and not completely to the side of your hero.
I am, again, I liked it. I don't want to give anyone the impression that I was like, it sucked. No, I really loved it, actually. But it was not the movie I thought it was going to be. And that didn't ruin it for me one iota. But I do want to go see it again. And not because I'm I want to make sure that I liked it. I liked it enough to want to go see it again. And I was hoping to see it again before we did this, but
yeah,
it was a pretty busy weekend. So I'm going to give it another watch and maybe do a deep dive on it. Because I did. I had a lot of fun with it. And there's things I could go yeah, there's this, but I just got to freshen it up in my head, and maybe that's, you know, I make of that what you will. That I need to re-see the movie to remember, you know, everything, every single aspect of it, like I would like to. The America Chavez character I thought was sweet. You know, I'm all for expanding the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It clearly looks like they're building, you know, fucking Young Avengers lineup of heroes, of which, you know, America Chavez is now just the latest. The Christine storyline was kind of bittersweet. You know, I loved when they went to Illuminati land, but it definitely felt like one of the reshoot scenes. Like it felt like maybe that didn't exist until they went back in for that big reshoot they did.
Right.
You know, maybe because there was a sense of like, hey man, people think Tom Cruise is going to be in this fucking thing, and they're like, well, we better get Patrick Stewart at least.
Hey, who we got? That's Tom Cruise.
But look how little they have to do to, like, you know, fucking make me slap my fins together for another fucking fish. They put Patrick Stewart in a fucking chair that kind of suggests the cartoon. I play that theme music and I'm like, oh, this is fucking fantastic. This is a way for them to acknowledge the Fox movies without fucking buying into the Fox movies. And they're getting ready for their cartoon X-Men 97 or whatever the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
So to have him back and shit was kind of like, like,
Bam.
Yeah, my part. Oh, Banff Man's here. What you got to say?
Just to add on that, when they did go through the like 20 different multiverses, they made a point to send them through 2 cartoon universes, at which point he goes, were we a cartoon in one of those? Clearly establishing what you'd find out later is that the X-Men cartoon is one of the multiverses that connects to the MCU. Like it was like front and center in dialogue earlier in the movie.
Is that what your take on it was? I missed that. Mm-hmm. That's cool if that's the case.
Yeah. So that Professor X,
he's
my
meant
X-Men were those cartoon. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was.
I like that. You know, the sequel they promised us at the end of the first movie was Mordo coming to clean up fucking Sorcerer World, and Mordo felt like he got a bit of a side shuffle back seat a little bit to the main Wanda story. Not a complaint, but just something I noticed.
Yeah. Is there another version of the story where it's Mordo who's absorbed Wanda's power, or, you know, or whatever? Mordo's got his own fucking plan that has nothing to do with Wanda. Maybe. Like, is it better or worse? I don't know. But I don't know. Like the threads that we've been putting into play in the MCU did a very good job of paying off with Endgame. And now I feel like we just have a frayed carpet, that the threads aren't connecting in the way we're used to them connecting. And so
Outworld Sounds quoted, I love you in every universe. I think that was a line in the movie. Isn't that what he told Christine?
Mm-hmm.
That made me emotional. I remember that. I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch it again, but I did enjoy it. I mean, fucking make mine Marvel all the way. And he's charming as fuck to watch, Benedict Cumberbatch. Like, you know, they got themselves Magical Iron Man, right? Like, you know, he's like Tony Stark we followed Tony's growth redemption arc, whatever the fuck, over 10 years. It looks like they're trying to line up Strange in quite the same way. But as you pointed out, they didn't quite stick the landing like they did with Tony Stark. You know, you could see Tony Stark's arc, and this one, as you pointed out, you're a little bit unclear.
Yeah. And where's Kang? Like, the whole idea of Kang was that he had fucked with the multiverse or condensed the multiverse, or we're in a different multiverse, or he's the fucking villain of the multiverse. And not a single mention of the guy we spent an entire TV show setting up, because we got to wait for Ant-Man 3 in a year and a half.
Kylo Ren in the chat said, actually, the original plan was to have Wanda kill Mordo. Is that right? Wouldn't you love to fucking find out what these movies are before they go back in and reshoot?
What was it going to be?
What storylines did they drop? Because I heard they did substantial fucking work on this when they went back in. So like, what went away? And I guess that's one of the things that went away. All right, man. Fucking, it was a show, kids. We'd love to sit around and do more, but we got to let JC go so he could do Star Wars night at the bar, Star Wars trivia night at the bar. But for the curious, how would you, if we had to Siskel and Ebert it, or Eber-Sisk it, the monster from fucking Willow, you thumbs up or thumbs down on Strange?
Wow, that is very much a binary, where there are always shades, but if I had to pick a live or die, a yay or nay, I'm probably a thumbs down. If I had to give it a letter grade, it's probably like a C plus, maybe a B minus, but or maybe it's like in the middle. It's I don't know, Dread Pirate Roberts, good night, Wesley. I'll most likely kill you in the morning.
I'm between I would say between B minus and B plus for me. Mm-hmm. And if somebody's like, well, that's just a B movie, then I'm like, great. Fucking, I love B movies.
Down a passing grade in my book.
Fucking hey, man, just keep me entertained. Keep adding these chapters. I get to. It's like reading comic books all over again. So I'm happy to be. They can add sections where it doesn't necessarily change everything and move the ball forward. Man, just give me another issue of my favorite characters fucking doing some shit. I'm there.
I did see this great meme that had floated around where it's like, Marvel fan waiting 19 minutes for the closing credits, and it's just Skippy McDippy pops in and says a thing and then disappears. And that's kind of exactly what the post-credit with Clea was, which is, come with me, Steven, there's an incursion. And like, who's this lady? I don't know. What does this mean? I don't know, but that's supposed to be enough.
It was enough for me when I was watching it and Clea popped in. I was like, oh fuck, I didn't know this. This is fucking dope. It's what's her name? Charlize is Clea. Oh fucking, now I want to see 3. Like they know my algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking deliver it each and every time.
But the fact that the first post-credit sequence was, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. And then this one is just, come with me. It's like, one of them promised awesome. The other one was just, okay, I guess.
The Bruce Campbell one was cute. Nice little homage to Evil Dead, him beating himself up. But then him, like the snap zoom into him going, hey, it's over. It's good, man. I love Raimi still fucking like has his boy in every movie.
Dude, my favorite thing was when they go to the scary, fucked up, abandoned Strange World, and the cars are floating in the air, and there's the 72 Oldsmobile. Like, oh, excellent. Way to get that in there, Sam.
Guy who never forgets his roots, man.
Never forgets it.
Ralph Herring in chat says they need to stop the post-credit sequence. No, Ralph, what are you, nuts? No. I don't care if they're good or bad. I love those post-credit scenes. I'm watching the credits anyway. I watch the credits to all the movies anyway, so I'm already sitting there. So I love that it pays off. Banff fans here. Say it.
Would you and Jay do a post-credit? Like, would that be the way to get you into the MCU? Because like Mallrats is in the MCU, Like,
Captain
could
Marvel.
there be a post credit where like you and Jay were sitting in a movie theater and you get to have a little dialogue discussion about like something that happened in the movie? Like, can you believe that we just
you
saw
know how
Superman?
you know how that could happen if you direct the picture. Nobody put me and Jay in their fucking movie unless it's some buddy of mine or something like that. But I would fucking love that. People always ask me like, "Don't you want to make one of these Marvel movies?" I was like, "Not at all," but I would love to be in one of them.
I mean, there's no reason why Blunt Man and Chronic can't be part of the Illuminati.
I know, right? I'll let them explode my fucking head, take my mouth away, and cave my brain in.
That'd be funny though, because you're Silent Bob. So Jay could just be like, "You can fuck up his mouth all you want. He doesn't say any shit anyway," and you could just like nod along.
Good point, man. Could be a variant, Silent Black Bolt.
Or it's Bob and Silent Jay, and you're the one who talks all the time, and Jay's just fucking.
It's a running fucking joke in Mallrats too. Yeah, man, fucking it's good world with Marvel movies in them.
I am to Marvel the same way I am to Star Wars, which is good, bad, or indifferent. I'm here for the next one. Like, if you give me that logo, if I hear the sounds of a thing that I like, spark me a lightsaber, I will show up for every fucking Star Wars thing, or a phaser or a TIE fighter or whatever. Like, if I see that logo spinning from Marvel, all right, done. What do you got now?
Kids, it's all the show we got for you. We got to go. We got to let JC go. He's got to go do stuff in the real world, man. We can't be sitting around talking about superheroes all day, you goddamn mall rats, or you fucking pillow pantses. Look at this. This is a pin I made of my mom in Clerks.
Aww.
As the milkmaid. I'm going to see her in Florida because Kids Movies Pop-Up returns to Tin Roof Orlando in Florida, in Orlando, a week from today. Me and Jay are going to be there for the opening, taking pictures with Booby and Ubies. So my mom, of course, is in Florida. And then we got like the Orlando MegaCon that weekend. So I'm bringing her a bunch of these fucking pins, man. She's going to give them out in her old lady community and whatnot. Bunch of chicks will be wearing this pin. But look at this, Mark. Years ago, there's this tweet that I'm known for. The worst tweet ever written, some people say. I turned that into a fucking pin as well.
That is a hell of a Mother's Day present.
Right? Gave it to my wife. I was like, here. She was like, you jerk. You can find those at janesilentbob.com, as well as this hat and signed movies and all sorts of fucking shit. You like Jay and Silent Bob, kids? Go to janesilentbob.com. You like this show and you want to I want to reward Kevin Smith in some fucking way. Go join that Kevin Smith club. You can watch me 5 times a week do Wake and Bake every morning. It's like a psychotic vlog show from the fucking early aughts. What about you, Mark? Where can they find as much Marc Bernardin as possible?
I'm on the socials, on all the places at Marc Bernardin. If you want to buy my comic book Adora and the Distance, head to a bookstore near you or Amazon or any purveyor of fine and or less than fine literature. I think we might be talking to the good folks at Le Secret Stash about potentially getting some signed copies in the house so that they can service people from all over the country / world who I do not get to see in real life.
And the next time you go east, we could have a signing at the store and do Fat Man out there as well.
Absolutely. We have to figure that out for the summer, because who doesn't like a good trip to New Jersey in the summer?
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah. Boiling fucking humid ass weather. Give it up for Banff Man, who gave us his time tonight, even though he's got shit to do over at his own bar. If you love Banff Man, Go patronize the Scum and Villainy Cantina on Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, California, man. Say goodnight, Banff, man.
Good night. We'll see you later.
We thank our sponsor tonight, the good folks at fucking Chili Sleep. Is that Chili Sleep? No, Chili, yeah. Chili, yeah. With the Euler system. Thank you for sponsoring Fat Man Beyond. But there is no Fat Man Beyond without the guy who's over there. No, there. God, why can I never do this? There it is. That guy right down there, ladies and gentlemen. Give the guy I'm fingering. Look at me fingering him, finger banging him. Give it up for my ew. Give it up. I don't think you know how to finger properly, Mark. Give it up for marvelous Marc Bernardin, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, thank you, good sir.
If you wanted to see me at the Movies Pop-Up in Orlando, kids, go to moviespopup.com. Make your reservation right now. If you want to see me in St. Louis, go to csmod.com. St. Louis Fan Expo this Saturday. I'll be there. Shy of that, we're going to see you next week, kids, because that is Fat Man Beyond for this week, man. Tune in next week. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Same fat time, same fat channel, smodcast.com or
youtube.com/Kevin Smith.
Jeff's Kiss, my friends. Mwah.
Laters Gators.
This is the cat. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the AKA Ask Kev Anything. Every saga has a 10-year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what happens when Jay and Silent Bob get old. I'm Kevin Smith. Cheers,